We haven't seen it in a while. You haven't seen it in a while. It's time for us to get back to our fun. It's time for our first run at Stock Up, Stock Down for the Philadelphia.
I was annoyed by injury updates. I'm going to be really annoyed by wearing these stupid hats.
As we look at some of these players and the coaching staff, maybe more, as we discuss what's going on with the basketball team, and we have our stock report hats, right?
The accountants have logged on.
They have logged on, everybody. He actually was our Rothman Who Won the Week winner for the first part of the season, Guerschon Yabusele. So I think it kind of...
Do we have to play this fake little dance where, I don't know, maybe I should
show the card a little bit, but then go that way and stock up.
I would say stock up. Now, the only way I'd hedge against this position would be to say, boy, it sure would be nice if he shot a little better, because the three-point shot has not been there early. But I think what we wanted to see from him as an energy effort role player, that's all been there. And I think the Indiana game was the best example of that. 3 of his offensive rebounds directly turned into threes for the Sixers, right? Where not only did he get in there and mix it up, but he immediately had his head up and swing pass, skip pass, whatever he needed to do to get it to an open shooter. And so it's not just the physical force part of it, right? That you want that and you expect that from a guy built like him. But how do you turn that into points, and how do you turn that into productive offense? I think the good thing has been, in spite of the lack of his shooting, he's been able to make plays as a passer and be, frankly, probably the best screener on the team.
By far.
And I don't even think it's been close. To make a difference in those ways where once he's in more of his natural role and once some shots start to go down, frankly, I think his stock will rise even further.
And I think with the shooting part, for his first 3 games, okay, it's what it is. He's still getting used to it, although he has had a full training camp preseason. It's only 3 games in. We never said he was going to be a high or low 40% three-point shooter. Overall, he's still getting used to it. He's thrown in there. And there may be some different looks, too. Again, look, they're open, but the ball may swing a little bit differently when the other guys are out there. If he's out there next to Joel Embiid, if he's out there with Paul George and Tyrese Maxey at the same time, things might look a little differently. When he was brought here and we discussed his value and what he could really do, is because of the other stuff that Kyle just mentioned. And not to pick on a guy who's also going to be back tomorrow, probably going to get a welcome home video for Paul Reed. A lot of times what Paul Reed would do is he would try to go right back up with that. He works hard to get the offensive rebound, but then he just takes away from it all by trying to get a quick shot off when it probably wasn't the right idea at the time. Yabusele does look for the others to get them a better look at the basket and put the points on the board. And he'll get worked in another way, like getting those outside shots that they encourage him to take and some other things that he could potentially do as well. So definitely stock up for Yabusele.
Yeah, he has showed that his hustle, his fight, his toughness will show up in an NBA game. Next thing is whether or not his three-point shot will. I'm still relatively optimistic on the corner 3. I think the above the break one is going to take some time.
Yeah.
And by take some time, I mean there's a question mark. Who knows whether or not he will ever be able to get there. We hope that he will, but I think at the very least it will take some time. That's where you really see a little bit of hesitation. That's when he passes up a shot. It usually comes from there. And quite frankly, that's where he's come up short when he has let him fly. So that's the key.
All right, let's get to our next candidate here for the stock up, stock down. Interesting one. Caleb Martin, first 3 games in the Sixers uniform. Didn't start. He started the last 2 games after not starting the first one. He's had some good games, had some questionable moments as well, like the end of the Pacers game where he had the what moment of fouling Tyrese Halliburton. So stock up, stock down, neutral maybe for Caleb Martin.
I think I lean hold on Caleb.
I almost...
Do it, Derek.
You want to be Mr. Negative?
Do it. It's 3 games. He can improve. He has 2 more games this week.
All right, fine. You talked me into it. Mostly because of the decision-making. The decision-making has just been very inconsistent, especially that game against the Raptors game. The second game against the Raptors, it was, I think, a little bit of a shock, not only because Tyrese struggled for the second game in a row, but the role players just didn't do role player-y things. All of the vets that you were counting on for their decision-making weren't there. So the combination of Tyrese struggling for 2 in a row, and then also the role players not filling the roles that you expect them to do was, whoa, what's going on here? And they came back, and Tyrese obviously had that incredible second half, and the role players just played a much more fundamentally sound game, and they were in better position. And a lot of that change from game 2 to game 3 was a big part Caleb. Not only Caleb, there are other role players, veterans, they were disappointed against the Raptors, but Caleb was a big part of it. So, I think I've just questioned his decision-making a little more over these first 3 games than I expected. Part of it is that he is just being asked to self-create more than he ever will be when your stars are healthy. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the decision-making I'm questioning isn't really guys playing outside of their comfort zone because they were forced into. It's really on the defensive end. And for that reason alone, I would go stock down. But again, has it changed my evaluation of him? No, not at all. It's just 3 games.
Yeah, that's it's stock down for the immediate term, but it's a definite hold over the longer term. I agree with Derek, and I think one of the big problems, and look, there's no way around it. They need guys other than Tyrese Maxey to initiate. And Caleb had some moments in that Indiana game where he's got a guy on an island, gets right to the rim, scores, and that works out really well. And then he had some moments where he ends up in traffic, and it's like, well, what the heck do I do? And I think the only thing that's been a little disappointing has been, as Derek alluded to, he's supposed to be one of the guys that's like, you're offering stability, you're offering some veteran savvy, and he's had a little too many moments where you're like, what the heck is going on there? But I do think that some of that is just being asked to do too much, having too much responsibility on his plate. I still am a firm believer in the, not just like the on-court leadership, but off the floor. We hear so many things about him as a vocal leader in practice and getting through concepts and leading by example in every way you can as a vet role player. So I think certainly over time that'll stabilize. It just, it circles back to, you need the stars on the floor so that they can be the stars, and guys like Caleb can just focus on all the little things that they should be focusing on.
He's playing up a level, and he probably shouldn't be making those decisions when he is making those decisions, as often as he's making those decisions. So therefore, of course, when it's a close game like it has been against the Indiana Pacers, and then the mistakes that were made in a game like the Toronto Raptors, they're just going to be highlighted as they should. And therefore, that's why the stock is down slightly for Caleb Martin. It's only 3 games. Again, we make sure we make that point, that disclaimer that it's only 3 games, but when he's out there with everyone else and less of a role of being a shot creator for other people and himself, we're probably talking more stock up than stock down during the duration of the season for Caleb Martin. All right, stock up, stock down. First time we've gotten a chance to see Jared McCain in the Sixers uniform, the rookie. Good moments against the Indiana Pacers. Then he kind of, all right, go to the bench a little bit here, young fella. After a few mistakes, he's a rookie. First couple of games, stock up, stock down, or are we still holding because it is so early for Jared McCain?
I think I'll go stock up.
Okay.
I think the most important thing that I saw over the weekend was that first half stretch against Indiana, where granted they are a smaller team. They play a lot of guards, so there are going to be opportunities to mix it up physically, even if you're a small guard like Jared is. But his instincts as a rebounder, his strength, the stuff that we heard and saw at Duke, that you're like, is that stuff actually going to translate? Because it's one thing to be a good rebounder as a guard in college, where most of the guys you're playing against are going to be like accountants, and maybe some of the higher end guys go to Europe, or a lot of them are just going to be working regular jobs. Their lives will not be basketball. So what does it look like against NBA athletes? Well, for him to go in the first half of that game and create some extra possessions, be as physical a guy as he was able to be, frankly, stripped Pascal Siakam on that one post-up where he's got him sealed, and it looks like, that's going to be an easy 2 points. And I think you even made a comment as we're watching the game together, and then Jared forces a turnover, and so you can see him holding up in that way. I am worried about his ability to defend guards, right? Like, he has struggled with speed early on.
They're running right by him.
They're just, guys are blowing past him. And so that is definitely a concern. We have not seen the shot make an impact quite yet, but under the assumption that's going to come, I do like that we've seen some signs that he can hang physically with these guys. because that's going to play a huge role in whether he can make it in this league.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm kind of glad you went stock up, because some of the perimeter defense has been a little discouraging, and one of the real
they're
concerns,
running right by him.
Yeah,
it
has not been good.
And that's one of the real concerns you had for him. It's like, I love his toughness.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way he'll get after it defensively. I love that he will compete for rebounds. He hasn't made a three yet, right? He hasn't taken very many, but still, he hasn't made a shot. I'm confident in a shot. I need to find out whether or not, because I also believe like I'm not going to say he's going to be a lead guard, but I think he has at least decent connected passing. I need to find out whether he can hang defensively. And some of the stuff that when you have more experience as a perimeter defender, you will be able to anticipate moves. You will take better angles. You will get better at it. But a lot of it isn't really the team stuff that coaches fret about with young players. A lot of it's just like that guy that you're trying to defend is quicker than you, and he's getting by you, and you're not getting to your spots. That does concern me a little bit, but everything else I'm still optimistic on.
Yeah, and the problem that he's going to have, hopefully he plays well, but the problem he's going to have, again, is whatever's going on in Los Angeles with Dalton Connect and popping up every now and again with a highlight here, highlight there. That's where it's just going to continue to trail him as long as he's in Philadelphia as a Sixer. All right, let's get to one more before we get to our Super Chats, our final one, and we'll go with Kelly Oubre. Stock up, stock down.
I think I know where probably Derek and I both want to go on this one, but
stock up, stock down, everybody.
Scored a lot of points.
Kelly Oubre, and they've needed
He did
points.
play well in the Toronto game. That was a legitimately good game on a night where basically nobody else played well. I will give him that.
But you're not raising that card.
I'm not. At minimum, it's a hold. Or at maximum, it's a hold, I should say.
Yeah, I would probably lean hold on this. My frustrations with Kelly are well known. And for the most part, I do think offensively he was good against the Raptors. Defensively, I thought he was part of the problem. He doesn't shoot the ball well. He takes bad shots. Hasn't learned what a pass is yet. But his defense is the one thing that I have been consistently impressed by. And 2 of the 3 games, I think he's defended pretty well. But he's going to have to do more. And the shot selection is a big part of that. And honestly, defensively against the Raptors, he was just out of position, over aggressive, like it was.
Oh, see, I didn't like him against the Bucks. So now they were all kind of a mess against Milwaukee at times. They were playing hard, but I don't want to overcorrect on him after last year where he exceeded expectations, and now it's like, oh, he's a different contract. We got to look at him differently. He is in a role that he should not be on a team that wants to win right now, right? He's basically option 2. Yeah. And that's just not a path to success individually or as a team. I do think once Joel is out there, because that was the thing, right? He opened the season in such a good place because he played so well off of Joel Embiid. He's knocking down shots, but he was also such an active and productive cutter from the corner and the dunker where Joel's passing out of doubles and he's getting layups and dunks. So I think he's one of the guys that will benefit the most from Joel coming back and the double teams coming in the middle of the floor.
Whether or not he can make an open catch and shoot shot will be one of the most interesting things to track throughout the course of the season. Like we've said a lot. And look, my read coming in, didn't like his offense. I actually think, if you remember when they signed him, we were more encouraged by his defense and what he can add there. We thought he was closer to being a contributor there. And even having relatively high expectations for his defense, he blew right past those last year. I give him a lot of credit for that. There's been a lot of stock put into the fact that he shot the ball well when he was playing alongside of Joel Embiid last year. That's great. It's relatively small sample size, and it goes against pretty much the rest of his career. Can he take that? Can he take that space that Joel's going to create for him and the space that Paul's going to create for him? Use that to curb some of his worst instincts and make shots at a clip he never has. And if he can do that, he is a very valuable piece of this team. And they need someone who can defend the perimeter like he can. Most of the other even bigger wings don't necessarily move their feet as well as he does. I really hope that he is able to be a positive force on offense when the stars come back. A lot of that's going to come down to shooting, and a lot of shooting is going to come down to shot selection. And if I focus a lot on that going forward, that's why.
We all silly like the mayor.